Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first ever episode of the podcast. Thank you so much for your patience in this first episode. We hope that you learn from this conversation, but we also get to learn and grow with each other, with my co host here, or with my guest, let me say that, who is someone who's been part of my journey in the safe space. And he has been someone who I think I've had very deep, meaningful conversations with. And he is also a man of God. I call him man of God for that reason. And I hope today you can hear him out. And the reason also that I'm doing this episode personally is that I think and believe that conversations between males and females that are like this one that we're about to have are quite important. It's not about the hostility. It's not about, feminism versus against the men of this world, because we need each other. It's about how can we navigate these phases of our lives. How can we navigate being in leadership positions, being in church, being in corporate, if you're in corporate, being wherever you are at, how can we lead a better life from this topic? And the theme will be around insecurities. Funny enough, we don't have a set topic just yet because we are just letting the Lord lead with that one. But let me just take a pause and let my guest introduce himself. Over to you, Ayanda.
Hi everyone, my name is Ayanda Nzama. I'm a saved child of God. I also have been involved in business. I am currently interested in the water sector. I am also an Arsenal
Yeah, I hope you win something.
fan.
Yes, yes, yes.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I told him that this season I'm gonna be watching soccer. Let it be known out there that this season I'm even close to buying. Did you see the Manchester City jersey?
Oh yeah,
I'm
the
not
new
even
one.
a Manchester City fan, but
No, it
yo,
looks good.
I looked at it and I was like, maybe I should get this one. But I've known Manchester City fans for a while, but yeah, it's not for them. It's the color black. But anyway, we'll get. I'm still deciding on which team, by the way. Not
Arsenal, you can join Arsenal at any time.
no, I want to win something. I want to win.
The
Anyway,
shade.
okay. Let's get right into it. And I hope that you are gonna be as raw as you can, and people, I hope that you accept us, and accept, maybe I don't want to say flaws, but accept our perspectives on things without hindering the way you view certain things. It's just like another perspective that you can take into account moving forward with life, because we are never the same. We can never be the same, and that's why God created community. It's
Yes.
because we all need each other. That's why the body works the way it works. Let's get right into it. So for me, this topic came out, or the Holy Spirit revealed it to me in moments where I faced insecurity so much, and I didn't even realize that I was leading from a point of insecurity.
Mm, mm,
And not just in my leadership position in the safe space organization. If you do, for those who don't know, I have an organization that we get together to have conversations with people like Ayanda. He's hosted quite a few. We have spiritual conversation, mental health conversations, and academic success and all of that. And we hope that the organization can expand. But that's why the organization also has been taking a little pause, is because these kind of conversations have not been had just as yet. And also I'm still learning to have that vulnerability with myself,
mm.
and not having vulnerability with yourself, I've realized that that results in you not being able to be vulnerable with other people.
Yes.
So then you try to cover up those kind of things, the
Mm,
insecurities that you're trying to hide out from. So this topic came at a time where I was very challenged, and God, with his mysterious ways, with his character, because I always say God is quite funny
mm,
sometimes. Like you look back and you laugh and be like, why did you have to do that?
mm,
in,
mm.
in in the most awkward moment, he will reveal something, like
Yes.
in a lecture room, in an office space, you'll be looking at something so random like a pen,
Mm.
and then he will show you something that's so random. And that's how God operates, and I hope that we can all learn from each other. So I just want to hear from you, Ayanda. What does insecurity mean to you? And I'm not even just talking about the textbook description of
Mm.
insecurity, but looking at your life, looking at the people around you, looking at what you've done with your life, um, when you hear insecurity, what comes up in your spirit, what comes up in your heart?
I think the first thing that comes up in my mind is not being confident enough. And in your attempt to hide your ability to not be confident, or let me rather say, in your attempt to hide your insecurities per se, we tend to enlighten them. We tend to put them on display because each and every single time we are trying to keep this composure within ourselves, we we forget it. We forget a few things that tend to also show up within our insecurities. So you become an insecure leader, you fear showing vulnerability, and then after that, you are not aware that you are actually being vulnerable by doing that, because you also tend to also have fears, certain fears. You do not want to have confrontations with people, which tends to limit your own growth as a person also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, that, just to also expand on what you said there, that we tend to enlighten the insecurities
Yes.
instead of, you know, coming out with them and say,
Yes.
actually, God, in the most vulnerable place you can be is with God Himself,
Yes.
or I don't want to offend anyone out there, the highest power that you believe in those sacred moments we should be taking them out. But I always wondered to myself, why can't I surrender myself fully to God? And it's not even a thing of I don't want to. It's a thing of I've defaulted to that. I've wired myself like that, not realizing I'm actually expanding or growing or even watering the
Yes.
seed of insecurity. I was listening to a podcast the other day. I'm so sorry to the host or the person who said this, he said that we tend to fight for our insecurities more than we think and we want to believe. We fight for our insecurities more than our confidence or our self-esteem. For example, he gave a very relatable example of they had a team meeting. Those in audit will say status updates.
Okay.
Where you at with this, and they all had task breakdowns and all of that, and they asked this guy, um, when do you think you'll be done with this and all of that? And that guy couldn't give a straight answer. And those are the small moments he could have picked up that actually I'm speaking out of insecurity. But what the guy did is he went on a rant that he has so much in his life. He even said, in the most inappropriate environment, like it's a workplace, but your life, your personal life is coming up in the
In the
workplace and all of
workplace,
that.
yes.
And this guy picked up that he's speaking more about his insecurities instead of what he's confident about. What
That's
you're
true.
confident about now is your interest in water, water sanitation or whatever it is that you're interested. By the way, I am is also in engineering, but instead of focusing on that, you focus on maybe the career that you want now for yourself is maybe taken up by people of a different race. People is dominated by maybe females, but you are a male walking into that space. So you tend to look at that more than your interest.
Yes.
So then
True.
you're showing up for your insecurities more than you're showing up for the version that you're trying to be. So I always used to say this quote that show up as the best version of yourself.
Yes.
Show up for that version of yourself, not where you are at currently. I'm speaking about this while I slept at 5 a.m. this morning. And it's so crazy that I'm speaking about it because sometimes it feels like maybe I'm a hypocrite, but it's just I'm starting to learn that actually it's okay for me to be weak and vulnerable at times
Yes.
with myself
That's
and
true.
realize that, okay, I got myself here. How can I get myself out?
Out of it,
So
yes.
his whole point was we show up and fight for insecurities. All that guy was saying is I'm insecure about all of this because I feel like I cannot handle it. My wife does not have believe in my abilities to lead the family. All those themes came up and you could see it was from a point of insecurity.
Yes.
And this guy as a manager, he asked him one question. Okay, tell us your interest or tell us your basically what sparked you to want to be part of this project, right? What influenced you to want to be part of this project? And when the guy started speaking about that, he lit up. The people now didn't even he asked the people who were in the meeting, guys, what was the difference? And then they said we both now became interested in hearing what you are going to say
Yeah.
instead of feeling like you are actually quite draining us in a way. I had no better word there, but yeah, our insecurities we tend to fight for insecurities a lot
Yes.
more than we fight for the visions that we're trying to be.
Yes,
And
that's true.
why do you think that is, or why do you think it's so difficult to show up for that best vision? I mean, for people who have, for example, stage fright, why is it so difficult for you to show up for the version of you that believes so much in your ability to speak to an audience, but not show up for that vision of like a powerful speaker, but you show up for the insecure, stage fright, scared of people kind of thing?
I think the reason for that is because we we want to seem appealing to people. That's the first part.
Yeah.
We there's an image of us, or there is some form of a facade that we want to put up for people. We want people to like a certain version of ourselves. Mostly the version that resonates with what society deems to be acceptable, if I can put it that way. So because we are not able to keep up with that, we then fall into our fears. Instead of saying I'm gonna go on stage and I'm gonna be able to sing, it's a thing of what if I get there and I do not do good. There's a part of you that would do good. You know that. You know you have the capabilities. But the issue is, how is society going to perceive you if you do something wrong?
Yeah.
So you limit your own potential by actually giving into your own insecurities.
Yeah.
So I think it's something that has also applied to me for quite a long period of time. And I had to learn how to unlearn it when I got into university. Because when I was in primary school, I was such a bubbly kid. Bubbly, I used to do sketches, by the way. At some point, I had interest in acting and all of those things. But as time went on, I think I allowed people's opinions about me to shape my own mindset about myself. So I started to drift away from being that bubbly kid, and I started to be more reserved.
Yeah.
At some point, I was an extrovert, and I started to identify myself as an introvert. It's not because I was actually an introvert per se, but it because of what had been said around me. And I grew up with that, and I think it's important for me to realize that it's not something I have really let go of. Um, just to tell you this one, actually, I am no longer into engineering.
Okay, great. I'm finding out on the podcast.
Finding out on the podcast. I'm no longer into engineering, and one of the reasons you do not know about that is because I do not want to be perceived as someone who didn't make it into engineering.
Yeah.
You see, I don't want to be seen as someone whose dreams did not come into fruition. I don't want to be seen as someone who left KZN to study engineering in Pretoria, and then I transferred into chemistry, and then there's a whole story around that itself. But because of those insecurities, of what people I know, people who are in my vicinity are gonna say about me leaving that sector. So I've chosen to be very much reserved about it. And I think it has also reached a point where I try to avoid conversations around
Like
why
Yeah.
why did you leave, what
Yeah.
happened,
Yeah.
which year are you studying at this point, when are you finishing, all of those questions. And I think it becomes even more difficult if you were known as the smart kid in high school.
Yeah.
If you were known as someone who was always part of the top 10, top 5, top 3,
Yeah.
all of those things, and then all of a sudden you get to university, you're hitting the ceiling. It's not working out the way it's supposed to. You are seeing opportunities, but you're not fully grasping those opportunities. You used to be one of the top achievers in class, but now you are barely passing your semester tests. So
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things that make us, I think they also make us to delay our own success, actually. Because if I'm not able to confess that, you know what, I'm not able to grasp calculus at this point, and I need Bonolo's assistance. But if I am insecure about being insecure, then I'm going to end up not reaching out to get that assistance, which then delays me too. So it's our insecurities or let me rather say being insecure about our insecurities is one of the reasons why we end up not reaching our goals or our successes, because they are they are they are forming some form of a stumbling block in our path.
Yeah, that's so powerful.
Yeah.
You reminded me of a quote by Les Brown. He said, as people, we need to participate in our own rescue. And I
Mm.
always say, like, you cannot heal what you refuse to acknowledge. You don't
Yeah.
go to the doctor and say, I'm just here to have a nice chat with you.
Mm.
Medical bills, they don't play.
Mm.
I know that because I've just been sick now. And yeah. But anyway, topic for another day. Uh, you don't go there and say, "Oh, I missed my doctor.
Mm.
I
Mm.
was just here to, just have a chat with you." No,
Yeah.
you go there because you've identified there's a problem.
Yes.
There's something that you need help with. You
Mm.
need medication for
Yes.
it. And I think we need to all take a step back
Mm.
and realize that most of our insecurities are linked to certain traumatic events that have
Yes.
happened. And it's very sad. It's a very sad thing for you as an adult to only realize that certain experiences of your life that you thought you dealt with
Mm.
are actually showing up every day with you in your
Yes.
insecurities.
Yes.
One of them for me was the validation.
Mm.
My mother passing away at 5 felt like this huge rejection.
Mm.
Poor woman. I despised my mom. I was like, why couldn't you take care of yourself? Because if you took care of yourself, you wouldn't have died from cardiac arrest when I was 5. Then I don't have a mother. You understand? So it felt like she rejected me. Because now my brother and sister and everyone around me was speaking about how good and great of a mother my mother is. But the sad thing is that I felt like as a child, I felt like I had to leave or watch a movie about my mother's life through the lens of other people, but I would have loved to experience it on my own. And then on that, it doesn't help that my dad was the most nonchalant guy.
Oof.
Didn't speak anything, didn't say any, when he's hurt, he would just bottle things up. Then obviously my brother and sister follow suit. They do what they were taught in an environment of we don't speak about the problems. We just shut down and act like everything is okay. So what that resulted in is me working in this dysfunction of always trying to be the best person, the best dressed, the best kid. You know what? If you ask people I went to high school with, I was always number one in accounting, no doubt, and it was for a reason because it was the only thing that gave me validation, right? And I cling on to it, but to my own, detriment. Because now when I got into varsity, I didn't take care of my health. I went on the same dysfunction, same route of validation, trying to get validated. And those who don't know, I graduated with a 74.51 GPA or average, right? And to many people, it's like, nah, you graduated with distinction. That 0.49 difference and the fact that UP doesn't round hurt me. That whole December I was crying. My dad used to be like, why are you crying? You paused and look at your marks. But it wasn't about that. It was the fact that in that moment again, I had to go back to that moment of rejection entirely again. And now it comes in the form of the thing that I always cling to, the thing that had become my identity. And kudos to my dad, he stuck around. Not a lot of kids who grow up without mothers, particularly, their father remarries another woman, gets abused, and all. Those are the kind of stories that are out there. But my dad never laid a hand on me. My dad, but it's in also what he didn't do. The validation of, oh, my child, I'm proud of you. One day I came back from school, I was the number one, and I had passed marks putting me above other schools even. And my teacher was so proud of me, and validated me. Sergey will, if he listens to this, he will know what I'm talking about. He will validate me like I'm so, like, you're doing amazing. Like, we can get to top one with you keeping on like this. And he was, motivating me. And I felt like I had a brother who saw something way more than, just the pain that I was going through. But the pain is that when I got hope, that was not there. My dad would be like, you're number one, okay. That's the reaction. Not a well done, I'm so proud of you. Oh my gosh. The validation, it didn't help that my own family was not there. I don't blame them. Like, if they're gonna listen to this, I don't blame them because I realize people deal with pain differently. And the sad part is life goes on.
Yes.
You know what they say is the funeral doesn't start until people have left.
Yes.
Until all the scones have been had and no one is there. That silence in the room. That's what happened with my mom's passing. That people were there all of a sudden, and then all of a sudden they were
They
gone.
were not.
And
Yeah.
then we were left with the pain to sit in there. And when you're not taught to deal with the insecurity of like how to deal with rejection, you don't handle it well. That becomes an insecurity of you always seek validation. That went on to my work, doing every single thing to just get validation. And when it doesn't come, you hit the ground like you've never hit it before, and every single bang takes a hit on you like you've never experienced it, because it's like you're experiencing it for the first time but at heightened rate,
Yeah.
because now you're carrying all of these things. There's a woman where I was admitted recently. She was like, I want to be a bird. And we all looked around and we are like, why? She's like, I'm carrying all these responsibilities, but no one is seeing my pain. No one is seeing me. So if I was just a bird and I would just fly, not an eagle, not even stressing about being smart or anything, just flying. And I said to her that it's so funny you're choosing a bird, you want to fly, but you cannot fly higher if you have all of these things that you're carrying.
Yeah.
And until we let go of certain things,
Yes.
we'll always carry that insecurity everywhere we go.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
we've also glamorized it, let's be honest. Like, people will say, nah, I can't speak. I'm an introvert.
Yes.
When you actually look at it, it's not because you're an introvert. Most of us don't even know our true selves without the insecurity.
Yes.
If you take it away, who are you? Do you understand? So it's that. I don't know what you want to add to that, but I had to now ask myself. I'm still answering that question, by the way. It's been days I've been sitting with this question, knowing that we're gonna have this conversation, but I still don't have the answer, because I've never known Bonolo without pain.
Sure.
I've never known Bonolo without the insecurity
That's
of
interesting.
I need to get top marks to get
Yeah.
validated. I need to receive great marks to be seen. Do you understand? And many people, when I tell my story, even when I went there, I said, I don't want to talk about myself. And they were like, why? I'm like, the first reaction people have is like, you're going to be a CA at 23. That's insane. Then they hear my stories. They're like, oh my gosh, you do so many great things, 1, 2, 3. But you know what that pokes in me is that they don't know that I did it from a point of insecurities. And how much more was I going to do
if
I didn't let that insecurity define who I am, be my identity?
That's true. Yeah, that's very true. I think as you are talking about seeking validation from your own progress, one of the reasons I fell into depression when I got into university was because the one thing that I used to be identified by, which is being a good student, it wasn't there anymore.
Yeah.
So, so I had to try and figure out life. How exactly am I supposed to do life without this identity I've always carried ever since I was in primary? This identity I've always carried. Whenever there were awards at school, I'm coming back with awards. All of those things. But I guess university there isn't any of that.
Yeah.
So I had to sit down with myself and ask myself, how am I gonna navigate life without the thing I treasured the most? And at this point, I'm not even getting validation from home, because the only time I got validation was because I brought a good report card.
Yeah.
But now I can't even show my transcript to my mother. So there's no validation whatsoever. I think another issue is comparison. Having to compare ourselves with others, it removes the joy of whatever it is that we're doing. And it's also one of the things that make us to feel insecure.
Yeah.
Because constantly I'm gonna, if I finished high school with Bonolo, and then I am stuck behind in life, and Bonolo is progressing.
Yeah.
Now I'm comparing myself with her.
Yeah.
And I'm forgetting about the good things that are happening all around me, because my eyes are not here. My eyes are rather looking at someone else, the progress of someone else, and comparing myself with that person. I think it's important for us to understand, maybe let us accept our failures first.
Yeah.
Accept our failures so that we will be able to face them and overcome them.
Yeah.
If we are not able to do that, we will always be left behind.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's time that we as individuals, if we want to be the generation that raises kids in a healthy environment.
Yeah.
Because I think the theme that has been coming around is that we are all trying our best.
Yes.
There's a video, there's videos actually on this. You are in chemistry now, you said, where they start with, I think, a glass of Coke, and then they pour it in. They basically dilute it with water.
Yeah.
It loses the color a little bit. It was basically showing generations as generations pass, because the last few conversations I had with my father, we spoke about everything under the sun. I asked him about infidelity in marriages, because that's one thing that had happened in my parents' marriage that was never talked about. It was a thing of shame. Let's put it under the rug. And now it's bringing to light. I'm like, I'm so tired of this, because I despised my dad, because I felt like you ruined my mother. And then you said you loved him. There's no way that's love when you did this. Do you understand? And he showed me his perspective, because it's his learned behavior. It's what he was raised to be. It's the way he was raised. It's not excusing. I said, look, I'm not going to excuse the things that you've done. They've happened. But how are we going to move forward and you to heal and move on? Because my dad blamed himself for my mother's passing. Justifiable. So that resulted in him not being able to validate us, because it's like he felt like maybe I should have passed on first.
Yeah.
I'm not the competent parent to be here. So I blame myself that I'm not even competent to handle you guys. Do you understand? It's a deep thing rooted where? Insecurity. And where is it coming from? Trauma that we never dealt with, know. And I'm basically challenging people here and saying, go sit with yourself.
Yeah.
Ask yourself, like, you can start with the smallest of things and say, am I really an introvert? Or am I really the life of the party? Or it's just because I want to be seen? Because some people do certain things. Look, I've seen people do crazy stuff. But when you look at it, actually, it's because this person just wanted to be seen.
Yes,
there's people who start fights with you because they want you to activate that caring part of you. Because then you'll fight with your sister and you're like, they'll be like, yeah, that means he cares because he's shouting.
Yeah.
But when we're silent, that means, no, what's wrong? I can't gauge what he's doing. And one of my other insecurities is that I deal with, I don't want to call it, I deal with abandonment, but I struggle with the fear of abandonment.
Oh, okay.
So I don't let myself be as vulnerable as I can be in relationships, be it romantic or be it with my sisterhood, for example. And that has been something that I think, as you've said it nicely, that we also delay our own success.
Yes.
And when speaking to success, I speak that sisterhood that I can call my friend. I'm going to name drop. Let me not name drop, because then people will think I rate this friend higher than the other one.
You're choosing.
They know themselves. You understand?
Yeah.
If I call this friend of mine, there were certain things. She will know herself. We have deep conversations. We tell each other like it is. And we had conversations around it. I'm like, I know I've been fully allowed myself to be vulnerable because people have burnt me. Listen, I was just sick now, I'm telling you, admitted. And this other former friend, I want to say, he will know himself, basically triggered that trauma of like, I don't like people making me feel abandoned. And where that starts from is the miscommunication.
Yes.
Not even miscommunication. No communication at all drives me so nuts. Even from God, I still struggle with it. When God is silent, it's like, does he not love me anymore?
Sure.
I don't know what to do with myself. Like, do you understand? And there's scripture, be still and know that he's God.
Yes.
Oh my God. I know God is God when I'm moving, when I'm seeing, I'm helping, but what that has cost me or what that gave me is burnout, is pride. Because then I started relying on my own to cover up the thing that I was struggling with the most, or the insecurity stemming from that. What that does also is a reflection of the other side of the relationship, where this person is made to feel like I can never give you enough.
Yeah.
Because I'm hiding all of the other stuff,
yes,
the fear of
abandonment.
Yeah. But that person feels like, I've given you this, but it feels like it's not enough. It will never be enough.
Yes.
Because I'm not dealing with the fear of abandonment. And sometimes people are not even abandoning me, but that feeling, I've never sat with it and asked myself, where is it coming from? Until the last 2 weeks, where my doctor just blew everything off and was like, well, this is this. I'm still trying to figure it out and navigate it. what am I saying to people with this is that name and shame the insecurity.
Yeah.
Don't name and glorify it. I think one mistake I've done is glorify it.
Yeah.
And that led me to pride. And pride is one of the top sins that we do against God. And the one that he probably hates the most. Because it takes away from him being God and showing up for me.
Yeah, that's true.
We cover it up in so many ways. There's so many ways. That's why people go into drug abuse. Because they get that validation from the drug.
Yes.
They get that high, and then it gives them that sense of security, of safety. Do you understand? But life is not about living in safety all the time. We need to get out there.
Yes.
You only ever know that you have faith when it's tested. Do you understand?
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Even in insecurity, you'll only ever grow out of that insecurity. First of all, if you want to grow out of it, if you name and shame it, but not only name and shame, but do the work.
Yes.
It takes work. Some of us might never even get to a point where we say we are completely over it or we are done.
Yeah.
Because it's been part of your system. It's been part of your identity for how many years you've been here on earth. Do you understand? And yeah, with this episode, the biggest objective is sit with your feelings and your insecurities and ask, actually, am I a bubbly personality or am I just pretending? Because why am I a bubbly personality out there, but with myself, I'm just quiet?
Yeah.
Do you know? And why am I doing what am I doing? Is it something stemming from a reaction to trauma? Or is it something I'm actually reacting to what's happening now? Because sometimes I also react to things that have happened in the past.
Yeah.
In a thing that is not even attached to it.
Yeah.
And it feels like I'm reacting to you saying, well, none of this, but I'm not reacting to that. I'm reacting to when it was said the first time.
When it happened before.
Yeah.
I think as you're talking about relationships and friendships and all of those things, I think insecurities have also led to many people settling in the relationships that they are in.
Yeah.
Out of fear of abandonment, out of fear of being alone.
Yeah.
Because once you are alone, there is no one who is gonna entertain you. There's no one who is gonna distract you from your own self.
Yeah.
So I think it's also important to understand that the Bible says there is no fear in love.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if we say we're gonna stay in relationships and we are constantly scared of being abandoned, it means that is not the space for us.
Yeah.
If we are gonna stay in relationships and constantly we feel threatened, either threatened by the other, but that is an insecurity by itself. Being threatened by your partner. And I think it happens a lot with guys. where if the lady is more successful than the guy, and then the guy is threatened by the partner, or if the guy is not leveling up to his own peers, and then he is gonna be threatened by his own peers. So me as Ayanda, I would be threatened by other gents that maybe they have cars, maybe they are working in mining, they are making a lot of money, all of those things. And then I start to feel threatened. I start to be controlling over my partner. It's something that stems from me having my own insecurities. And then I start projecting that insecurity. And then I start feeling as if it's going to be much better if both of us are insecure. so, so, so instead of solving my own insecurity and growing myself, let me rather bring the other person down. Because it's harder for me to face my own insecurities, you know. So instead of facing my own insecurities and telling myself that, you know what, I need to do better than this. I need to start making better life choices. It's easier for me to drag the other person down than elevating my own self. So it's something that also has to be talked about and I think it has to be shown very early in relationships and even in friendships themselves. It's conversations that we need to talk about. If a friend of mine is insecure about certain things, I think there's been a trend on TikTok in the past few days where people are like, I do not know which friend traumatized you, but if I come, there's that trend. I think it's very important. I think it's a very important thing or conversations for us to have, especially if we're friends. One of the things that caused me to form friendships later in life, I think I started having friends at 17. I am so sorry to anyone who considered me a friend before that. I think I started having friends at 17.
Yeah.
This was because I couldn't form, I couldn't give myself into being able to tell my friend that, you know what, I do not have money to go to McDonald's. I can't afford going to McDonald's on a certain day. I can't afford going to that to that Shisanyama spot because I never had money. Like literally never had money. And it's one of the reasons why throughout high school I never dated at all.
Yeah.
And I think when I got to university, not that I'm promoting dating in high school, honestly, but I think I got to university and I sort of wanted or wished I had a high school sweetheart. I think that is something that I was, what's the word, the English word? That is something I never got to experience because of the insecurities I had, you know. So there were opportunities or there were moments that I could have cherished back in my lifetime, but I couldn't because there were insecurities that I was dealing with, which led me to not being able to form relationships, which led me to not being able to form partnerships. Even when I got to university, having to form romantic relationships, it became quite a hassle because I never had a prior experience.
Yeah.
Even forming friendships, even today, I have quite a few friends.
Yeah.
That is because I never learned how to make friends to
Yeah.
begin with
Yeah.
when I was in high school.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very much important having those open communications with those people who are in our proximity.
Yeah. And I think also giving grace to those
Yes.
around you
Yes, true.
and seeing people that people are usually the way they are because of the experiences that have shaped them.
Yes, true.
Let's be more interested in knowing the experiences that have shaped the people that we are surrounding ourselves with. Because once you learn and understand where this person, obviously work is inappropriate right
Yeah.
now. You know, work is important, guys, but it's not the be all end all of your life because
Yeah.
you still have a home to go to. You
Yes.
still have to talk to your friends. So, but understanding the experiences of your friends will help you understand who they are.
Yes.
Understanding the experiences of your partner will help you understand who he is or who she is.
Yes.
Do you understand? You understand that there's certain things that this person does that they don't even realize is automatic at this point because of what has happened in their life. And also not coming strong.
Yes.
Like as you were saying, that's why I was laughing because we didn't even talk about what we were going to talk about. And it's a topic that I'm fresh out of a relationship. I think I just broke up with my ex-partner now. 6 months, let's say now it's 6 months we've been separated, and looking at it retrospectively, it hurts to say this, but two people who have very big insecurities that they have not dealt with. I'm not talking about the insecurity. Oh my gosh, I feel so insecure about the way people talk to me. Oh my gosh, I'm talking about real things. Like fear of abandonment is a big thing in relationship.
Yeah.
If you are now being so, I'm not speaking not sexually, guys, but romantic relationships are one of the most intimate relationships you can have. And many people will associate intimacy with sex, but guys, I'm a celibate human being. Let it be known out there.
Yeah.
I've been celibate for over 2 years, 3 years. Do you understand? It's
I'm celibate also. By the way.
You just say in case.
In case.
But yeah, do you understand? And it's something that is it's something that is so painful, but people need to realize that until we deal with the insecurities, we cannot love fully.
Yeah, true.
You love. Don't hear me wrong, guys. Hear me. I'm saying with insecurities, you can, like, for example, let me take the fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, whatever you want to call it, and being in a relationship with someone who does actions that they believe are right for them, but constantly trigger you to feel that fear of abandonment, then we are not in love anymore. We are in the cycle of toxicity that needs to break, that you were speaking about, that there is no fear in love.
Yes.
And we need to teach ourselves how to love ourselves first. than how to love other people.
Yes.
But we tend to try to learn, how can I love Ayanda best or better? How can I show up for him and all of those things when you don't show up for yourself?
For your own self. Yeah.
What that ends up doing, or what I've observed, I'm not now going to generalize, is that when you don't take care of yourself the full way you can, and you know you can treat yourself better,
Yeah.
it comes out somewhere in your life. It might not
Yes.
be immediate. It might not be the first. We had a great relationship. If he's gonna hear this episode out there, I will recommend 10 out of 10. Great gent. Do you understand? But what I realize is that maybe it's like, what's that saying people say? Right person, wrong
Wrong
timing.
time. Yeah.
Do you understand? And
Yeah.
I'm saying no, let's get back together. I don't think we'll do well getting back together, because I don't know how people start up anyway, but that's a topic for another day. You break up with someone and then get back together. For me, there's a blueprint,
Yeah,
that
true.
I won't be able to forget certain
True.
other things that have happened
That's
and
happened. Yeah.
not be present. I learned about mindfulness recently. Let us be mindful of the way we treat people or love people.
Yeah.
Ask them. Like, I'm challenging people out there, the boyfriends particularly. Go and ask your woman, is the way I'm loving you the way you want to be loved?
Yeah.
Because most people, or most, now I'm going to generalize, I apologize, gents. Most men think money is the beat or end all. And I get it.
True.
Society is built that way.
True.
A man must provide and all that. Yes, you must provide. Brother out there who's maybe thinking of dating me, you must provide. Do you understand?
Yeah.
But if money is everything to you, when we take away money, who are you?
Who are you? True.
I want the person, I don't want the money. And
Yeah.
most women usually want the person, but they've settled for the guy who can buy them,
Provide the money.
a Christian Dior perfume, because it feels better that this one at least can provide. But even though he makes me feel abandoned, at least he can buy me a Dior tomorrow. That's what it has led to, that cycle.
Yeah, that's true.
Then same for women. Women now have started thinking they need to give away their bodies. They need to be submissive to men in order for the men to love them. But hear me now. What I've learned is, until people have learned to submit to the highest power they believe in, for me, I'm going to call it out, until a man has submitted fully to God.
To God, true.
It's very hard for me to fully submit to him.
Yes.
And also, added on, I also haven't fully submitted to God. And I know it. And then a lot of Christians now will try to shame me for it, or act like, no, you can't fully say that on the podcast. That's another topic for another day as Christians that we need to have and say. We need to really be raw about certain things.
Yes.
And the reason why certain things are happening now in churches, in life and all of that, is that certain insecurities are not put on the table.
Yeah.
Because you cannot come and tell me that you have an insecurity that you're addicted to porn in church. I'm just making it realistic now.
Yeah.
Now what happens is gentlemen start raping kids out there and stuff like that. Because the space that was meant to be safe, that's meant to be loved, is not.
True.
So what are we doing, each individual out there, to create that safe space for yourself first? I think we always want to create a safe space for other people. We are so quick to say, you said it right, that we instead of looking into your own insecurity, it's easier to look at the other.
Yes.
And say, I've realized that you deal with this issue, you deal with that, but you don't realize how you're triggering those things. You don't even realize that you're actually maybe contributing to those things. Take a step back. Let us all take a step back. And some people maybe might feel empowered after this episode of saying, actually, I think I'm in this relationship because of insecurity. I'm only with this girl because she makes me feel good about myself. But what about the moments where she doesn't make you feel good? Do you still love her? Oof. That's a conversation I have with gents a lot, and say, okay, I get that you want to provide and be all of that, but let's say you go bankrupt tomorrow. Life is not set in stone.
What's gonna happen
Does
after
that woman love you?
Oof.
That's why you find divorces when men have started now being broke. The woman leaves because the love was based on what?
On money.
His abilities to provide. Do you understand? And if that's what gents want, great, go for it. But deeply rooted in that is an insecurity that you haven't dealt with. That your identity maybe is money. Maybe your identity is feeling powerful. That's why men control women, or women try to control.
Yeah.
You know, I know people who are so possessive that they want to touch their partner's phones. They do investigations. And I always say to people, I will never touch a guy's phone. unless there's something that really speaks me to say, okay, now I'm investigating something.
Okay.
But to touch a guy's phone and look for things and all of those things, you know inwardly already. Your spirit knows.
That's
And I
true.
think people don't listen to their intuition or
That's true.
discernment. And I'm not talking only about infidelity.
Mm.
I'm talking about betrayals in friendships that you
Mm.
downplay. You know deeply rooted that certain friendships have lost their time.
Yeah.
You know, certain people are only meant to be in your life
For a certain
chapter.
period of time.
Do you
True.
understand? And it's okay.
Exactly. That is what I always say. That it's okay. The friends that I had that I'm no longer friends with, I always say it's really okay.
Yeah.
I don't have to have any resentment towards
Yeah,
them.
exactly.
They shouldn't have resentment towards me because they were there for a certain chapter of my life.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether it's someone I knew from primary up until high school. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But they were part of my life. They are no longer part of my life. I don't have to have any resentment towards them. It's just let us accept that, be grown about it, and let it go.
Yeah.
I think you also spoke about people who remain in toxic relationships and environments. Unfortunately, I've done it before. God,
Everyone has done it.
yo, I have. I've also been in a relationship where it was very toxic. It was it was a it wasn't a case where she was cheating or all of those things. No, she wasn't.
Yeah.
But she was a very toxic person. She was such a manipulator. But one thing I got from her is that it's also her experiences.
Yeah.
It was also her
Exactly.
traumas.
Exactly.
I remember one day having a hard conversation with her around her behavior, and she told me that this one shocked me. I had never heard anyone saying this one before. She said, "I can't be in a relationship where we don't constantly argue." I didn't know how to respond to it because I'm not that kind of person. I'm not the kind of person who always has to fight and do all of those things. I'm a lover, not a fighter. So I just couldn't do it until it reached a point where I was like, you know what, I've got to let her go. And I think I knew from the get go that we were not gonna work out.
But you
But
still stayed
I still stayed. I still stayed because it was a matter of we will cross that bridge when we get to it. When we are facing problems, we're gonna deal with them at that point in time.
Yeah.
You see, and then the time came, and unfortunately, I almost lost myself. I almost did, but I thank God that I did not. And after that relationship, I just had to stay by myself for some time.
Healing. Yeah.
Healing.
Yeah.
Just heal and look within me. What exactly do I want in a relationship?
Yeah.
Do I want a relationship that fulfills my desires, or do I want a relationship that looks unto God first? And the one thing I realized is that it's easier to trust and fall in love with someone who has trust and has fallen in love with God first. Because
100%.
I wouldn't have to be insecure about anything that person does, because that person is not prioritizing me, she's not prioritizing herself, but she prioritizes God. So it's much easier to form a relationship with someone where I, as the gent, I am looking up to God, she looks up to God. Our common denominator here is God Himself. So it's much easier to form relationships in that manner instead of just following our own desires.
Yeah.
And there's also another thing you mentioned about guys who want to provide, who want to show off the money that they have. I know of a guy, I can say he's currently going through something like that. The kind of person who shows off the money, who shows off the glam in the beginning of a relationship. And then as time goes on in the relationships, it starts going down.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you have set the standard so high, you can't afford to bring it down at this point.
Yes.
Because it's really high. And I think the one thing I am good at is being vulnerable to the person that I am seeing at that time from the get-go. Okay, we can go to classy restaurants and all of that, but I always make it known that I do not come from a background where I had all of this. And I'm not going to be able to have all of this all the time because though I may be working part time, but I'm a student, I'm a full-time student. I don't have to compete with other people and seeing other relationships where people are able to go to this classy restaurant each and every weekend. I can't afford that. Maybe if we go to Menlyn, a restaurant in Menlyn, or we go to a restaurant maybe somewhere in Brooklyn, maybe following weekend we can go to KFC. After KFC, I no longer have money. We can buy quota and just stay indoors. That kind of thing. Because I want to make it known that I'm not always gonna be able to keep this kind of standard, and I want the person to actually fall in love with me before falling in love with what I can provide. Because what happens when all of this luxury is not there? Because I think it's one of the things that happened to a lot of people, especially when we were going through COVID. Some people were retrenched from work. Some people couldn't keep the leverage lifestyle. Some people couldn't go to the fancy restaurants, the fancy bars, all of these things. They couldn't keep up with that kind of life because there wasn't an opportunity to. Hence, you saw many relationships crumbling because of that.
Yeah. Oh, that's so powerful. Me and you can go on and on, but we still need to keep time. In closing, by the way, my relationship was healthy, and I think that's why we both realize so many things about ourselves. That shucks, a healthy environment will bring the worst out of you. I say that because remember, it's you're fighting for healthy when you come with unhealthy habits. You come with unhealthy mechanisms, for example, and it's funny that I foreshadowed the thing you talk about your ex-partner speaking, saying that she prefers when you guys argue because it tells her that you love her. I said that, like, I've experienced people like that. I want to say in closing for my part, and then I give it over to Ayanda and then close for good now. We've been closing for a while. But one thing I want to say to people out there is that it's never too late to rebuild yourself.
Yes.
I think we have become identified or have identified ourselves with our insecurities, our flaws, and we fight for them more than we fight for the best version of ourselves. Why don't we say from here on we are going to show up for that best version of ourselves? We are going to show up. I want to be healed from this particular trauma. So then I'm going to show up as this better version of myself instead of heightening the things that lead me to be triggered all the time. For example, being in that toxic relationship, you have intuition. I'm not going to tell people who need to leave relationships because it's your life. One girl posted that her friend was in an abusive relationship and she had to finally accept that she can not take her friend out of the relationship until the friend decides she's done. That's what life is. Until you decide for yourself what you want, life will constantly choose for you. People think it's a coincidence when they say you marry your father, for example, as ladies. When your father was someone who, for example, is a deadbeat father, you end up having a kid with someone who's going to be a deadbeat. It becomes a cycle. Why? It's because you never got to a point where you decided that I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to be this cycle. You saw the cues. And look, I'm not shading women who have fallen in love with gents who gave them this facade, who gave them this appearance that I'm a good gent. I'm a gent who's going to provide. I'm a gent who's going to marry you and all that, and then break the poor woman's heart. Same for women. Women also put up appearances that I'm this loving girl, and then once they get married to the men, they become this monster of a person. I'm not talking about people who have experienced those things, but I'm talking about people who knew from the get-go, who had a gut feeling, who had discernment that this person is not good for me, but still went on to test the waters. This theory that I can change him. Do you understand? And you can never change anyone. That's what I've come to learn in the past 2 weeks.
That's true.
Being admitted that I need to accept I cannot control my siblings. I cannot control my friends. I cannot control my future husband, for God's sake. Because people are people and you need to let them. Mel Gibson.
That's true.
Or is it Robbins? Mel Robbins, actually, sorry. The let them theory. It's just that. But you also need to let yourself go. I think it's scary to say it because people think us saying let go means let go of your values and all that. That's not what we're saying. We're saying let go of the toxic side of yourself.
Yes.
Let go of the insecurity, let go of the trauma, and that means healing.
Yeah.
What I think people are hoping for, especially, let me make an example. I tell people when I'm ministering to people, especially who are new Christians, is that Christianity is about a relationship with God.
Yes.
And in that relationship, you are going to be tried and tested. Don't think it's going to be glitz and glamour all the time, where God answers your prayers and people treat God like a genie, for example. We do the same to people.
Yeah.
We think, my partner needs to make me happy. And when he doesn't do this, he doesn't make me happy. So your happiness is now conditioned to this person.
Yeah.
When he does this thing that doesn't make you happy, then all of a sudden your world is crumbled.
Oof.
You know. So what have you rooted yourself so deeply in that you need to come out of? Let's go and have conversations with ourselves and say, what are we insecure about? And where is it coming from? Because insecurity is something that comes from somewhere.
Yes.
A child, for God's sakes, kids are so innocent. Let's go and take a 3-year-old right now. And you tell her that, oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. Some of them will tell you, I know, God created me. And it sounds so absurd, but it's because kids learn certain behaviors.
Yes.
So even in the insecurity, you learned it.
Yeah.
You know, you learned to be conditioned in that fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, you know, and now you're doing all of this to seek validation. Some of it you might not ever get. For example, people who have lost parents. Like me, I've lost both of my parents. I'll never hear my father say, I'm proud of you. Because he's gone. Now, if I continue with the same act of seeking his validation, I'm never getting that feedback.
That's true.
You know, I don't believe in ancestors, so I don't believe there is a channel for me to talk to my father when he's dead. So I know for sure that I'll never get that feedback. What am I doing to get to a sense where I feel validated enough to know that, you know what, even if he was not going to be part of my life, am I part of my life? You know?
Yeah.
So that's what I want to
That's
say to people.
important.
Let's go and have conversations with ourselves. Let's go and reflect and say, is this relationship maybe governed by insecurity?
Insecurities, yeah.
Or is it actually love? That's not romantic only, but friendship, church, everything. Is it rooted in insecurity? Are you in the church because you're scared of what your family is going to say you leaving? You know, everything, literally. So yeah.
No,
I don't know what you want to say on your side.
On my side, I think I just wanted to highlight how insecurities actually affect us in the church. Because more especially as leaders, because I'm a youth leader at church, I'm the chairperson. I think the one thing I've realized is that sometimes we are selling out the truth of the gospel out of fear of out of fear of having abazalwane leaving the church.
Yeah.
So we end up twisting the truth of God. We end up trying to dilute and water down the rawness of the gospel itself. I think it also goes to an extent where we are limiting the growth of the church and the growth of the brethren in the church, because we are not able to portray, or we are not able to say things that God wants us to say to the church. We end up being leaders who are not able to listen or sharpen their hearing sense in the spirit, because we are so obsessed with people instead of looking unto God. We are so obsessed with being loved by people instead of being loved by God. We are so obsessed with seeking validation from people, the people that we lead, instead of seeking the validation that comes from God. So so these insecurities, they also make their presence felt inside the church. And when they get into the church, they sort of twist the gospel. Not just the gospel, they twist the identity of Christ himself. Because we are no longer showing Christ as he is, but we are trying to shape him. We are trying to always mold instead of having him mold us. We are molding the truth. There are books we are not even gonna touch in the church. Because they are gonna make abazalwane feel in a certain type of way. You see, they are gonna feel offended, you know. So in order for us to prevent that kind of thing from happening, we end up having to sell out the gospel, because we are feeding people our insecurities. We keep on thinking that we are protecting them. We keep on thinking that we are looking up to them. We are looking out for them, but instead we are doing the opposite of what God wants us to do inside the church. And hence you are finding so many churches, and yet there are so little of them who are able to give us the rawness of the gospel that we deserve. I don't think the gospel is supposed to be very sweet on us. It's supposed to be bitter. Exactly, exactly. There are people who say, most of the ministers, they will go to the verse that says, "Come as you are," and then they assume that God is saying, "Let us come as we are, and then stay as we are." Jesus says, "Come as you are, and then you're gonna give me your cross. I'm gonna bear your cross." But once He has taken the cross, we are supposed to let go. We are supposed to let go of who we think we are. We are supposed to let go of who we've learned we are. We are supposed to take a new identity in Christ, an identity that is fully gonna shape us. But we are not able to do that, or we are not able to enforce or preach that kind of gospel in the church because of the insecurities that we've allowed to infest themselves inside the house of the Lord.
Yeah. I won't even touch on this, but I think this will be another conversation. Maybe we can pick it up maybe with you or someone else who maybe might, volunteer to come forth and talk about insecurities in the workplace, insecurities in relationships. We can take it further. It's just that's what I was opening because we touched pretty much everything.
Yeah, true.
Insecurities in family, but that's just how we have conversations.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you so much, Ayanda, for availing yourself.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, I really do appreciate it, and I hope that people do appreciate this conversation. Yeah. And we want to hear from you guys. Like, let's hear comments. Let's see what you're saying about it. Your different perspective, maybe. Remember, this is not Ayanda Bunolo. Do it or you are failing in life. No, this is our perspective of what we've learned from our burns, from our hurts, from our experiences. And we hope that someone out there might listen and actually have a better life from here on. God bless you guys and see you next time.